tonight we come asking you for safety and peace and protection over our drivers tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Let all of NASCAR people say amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Kayla Adams.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Short track racing under the lights. It's Richmond Raceway. 250 laps. Things happen fast. When we come back, we'll fire the engines.
To race under the lights in Richmond. It's time to bring the action. Oh boy.
Already have trouble down in turn 1. 3, 4, 5 cars. And around goes Allgaier.
Oh, he collects Eric Jones as they crash and collide in the front of the field. Crashing at the back of the pack, racing for the win.
Well, he has bounced back to win in Richmond.
And imagine that, the intensity will even pick up tonight as there are only 2 races until the playoffs. For more of the stories before the green flag flies, let's go to Marty Snyder.
Well, Rick, as you mentioned, 2 races left in the regular season for these Xfinity Series drivers, and Blake Koch finds himself on the correct side of the cut line, plus 44. They have the best qualifying spot they've had since April, and Chris Rice told me moments ago, we have top 10 speed, but I'm going to call a very conservative race tonight. All I'm worried about, finishing ahead of those we're racing in the championship, Kelly.
Well, Marty, Brendan Gaughan enters this race in the 12th and final playoff position, but he's just 20 points above that cut line, and he openly admits Richmond is not his best racetrack. So this team knows they can't afford to make any big mistakes. As crew chief Shane Wilson told me, they cannot beat themselves. You can bet this team will have all eyes on the drivers around them in the chase. That's the 5 of Michael Annett and the 28 of Dakota Armstrong. Brendan Gaughan starts this one 17th, Parker.
Right, Kelly. And Elliott Sadler right now comes in here almost a whole year winless in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. But right now you wouldn't know it speaking to this race team because they're focused on one thing, and that is winning the championship. And they can get themselves a little closer here tonight if they go on to clinch the regular season championship. That will be worth 15 playoff points in the playoffs, which is essentially like having 3 wins. So when I spoke to his crew chief, Kevin Menry, and I asked him, if you don't win a race all the way to the end of the year and only win Miami, will that matter? He said that's all that matters, is getting that trophy in Miami.
That is the ultimate goal, winning the championship at season's end, and that's what everyone is shooting for. Only 12 will have that opportunity after next week's race in Chicagoland, when the 12 drivers will be determined who will race for the title. It's time to race here short track style at Richmond Raceway. But before we do that, let's fire the engines. We go trackside for the command.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Chief Executive Officer of Virginia529, Mary Morris.
Let's go racing. Drivers, start your engines.
Yep. Hot. Copy. Thank you.
Always a wonderful sound when the engines come to life. It's time now for the drivers to focus on 250 laps at Richmond. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. Lights on and a short track. Racing always very intense at Richmond Raceway.
The goal that we want to achieve, my team, me as a driver, was to win the championship.
We have to go into the playoffs with a full head of steam.
He's going to get his second career victory at Daytona.
Oh my God, we're going to celebrate.
I think we're capable of winning a championship, and if I didn't feel like that, then I shouldn't be strapping to the race car.
The 19-year-old gets the win.
Our team can win races and win a championship.
And the grid beginning to roll off of pit road. Take a look at the starting grid. It'll roll across the bottom of your screen. Kyle Busch won the pole. His last Xfinity Series start of the season. He's won 5 of the 9 he has entered so far this year. We have the opportunity to talk with the driver of the number 7, Justin Allgaier. Let's dial him up on the radio.
Hey, Justin, Jeff Burton, NBCSN booth. You got us?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead. How are you tonight?
Oh, we're doing great. Listen, when I think about Richmond and you, I think about how many close calls you've had. You come so close to winning races here. What are you going to have to do tonight to get that thing done?
Man, I don't know. I've had a lot of people this weekend say this place owes me one, and I've always learned that none of these racetracks and none of these races owe you anything. So we got a work cut out for us. We qualified a little further back than I think we thought we would tonight, but these guys do a great job, and this Hellman Chevy is really, really good this weekend. We've obviously had speed here these last few races, so managing tires, managing brakes, and then track position, I think that's all going to be key tonight. And for us, it's, pit stops are going to be important. I got one of the best pit crews on pit road for sure. So I'm excited about it, man. It's going to be a fun night for sure.
Well, I love how you say you got to manage the tires and manage the brakes at the same time. So you didn't qualify quite like you wanted to, so you're going to have to find your way to the front. How do you do that and manage brakes and tires?
Well, I think, the biggest thing for us is just trying to navigate the speed and then, making those passes when you have opportunities and not pushing it too hard too early, but then also, knowing that you're making the right adjustments to the racetrack. That's the biggest thing. If you can keep making adjustments on it and keep your car at the speed you want it at, the passing will be easy. So that's where we're at. I do have to say, though, thoughts and prayers to everyone that's been affected by hurricanes lately, everybody in Texas, Louisiana, all those that are preparing for Irma and Jose. We're really thinking about everybody. So tonight, this race, as much as we have a job to do, we're thinking about them equally as much and try to make sure that we can try to go to victory lane for all of them tonight.
Well, Justin, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for letting us ride along. We'll be watching. Good luck tonight.
10-4, guys. Thank you.
You mentioned ride along. We will be able to ride along with a few different drivers tonight.
Well, and it starts, we just heard from him, Justin Allgaier. He'll be carrying the Sunoco on board and starting in the 9th position tonight.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski, lucky enough to ride along in the Ford Performance Cam tonight. He's going to give us some great shots.
Elliott Sadler has the Chevrolet on board, but just not the Chevrolet on board. He has this, the helmet cam. My favorite shot, so realistic. This right here is going to be a great perspective of how just tough this racetrack can be.
Yeah, and started back in 14th. I think Christopher Bell with this Toyota onboard camera, he's going to give us some good shots also coming from the back of the pack.
We'll also get some great shots from up above. Our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Field bunching up now, all 39 cars tacked in behind the pace car. Again out in front, Kyle Busch and Brennan Poole with an impressive qualifying run. Starts on the outside of row 1. A week ago, it was at Darlington, and the line there right up against the wall through 1 and 2, and it creeped all the way up there through 3 and 4. Now the very opposite. This racetrack, they will be hugging the bottom of that racetrack, trying to find as much grip as they can, the shortest way around.
And I think at the beginning of this race, that inside line is probably going to be the way to go. And if you look at the inside line, row 1, row 2, run 3, 13 Richmond wins among that row. So you can bet that line's going to be moving.
It will be impressive. Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr. all on the inside for the start of this one. 2 races to go until the playoffs for the Xfinity Series. Can someone punch their ticket tonight into the playoffs? Green flags in the air.
Kyle Busch with a very nice start, getting out there to 4 or 5 car lengths. Brendan Poole giving way, trying to fight, as you talked, Jeff, on that non-preferred line early on the upper lane. Did a nice job, though, kind of trying to turn inside the 22 here. Brad Keselowski trying to take the spot back into turn 1.
Yeah, great job of fighting back and trying to take that spot back. Not a good start for Brendan Poole. Not the start he wanted. Kyle Busch into turn 1 a long ways in front. So now he's got to just be cool. You're racing against Cup guys. Don't wear your tires out. Run with these guys for a little bit.
And I think this is an area of each run that the little bit more veteran drivers, those Cup guys, are going to excel a little bit. As I say that, Brendan Poole turns to the bottom of the racetrack. But what I mean is at short tracks, we talk about low air pressure. They have to start really, really low, almost flat tires to get that grip. Well, these cars are very hard to drive early in a run.
Great battle for second, though, as Brendan Poole continues to look to the inside of that 22. But as he moved up the racetrack, I saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. look to the inside. Now he'll try to take the spot away.
Yeah, this 88 of Dale Jr., he's 3 for 3. His last 3 Xfinity starts here at Richmond, he's gone to victory lane looking for 4-4 tonight.
And he continues to look to the inside of that 48 now. Brendan Poole trying to find a line that he's comfortable in.
He's going to be comfortable if he doesn't have a car in his left rear quarter panel.
Dale Jr.'s job is to not make it comfortable. See right there, it's really tight into turn 1. Dale Jr., I think, cut a little bit of slack to Brendan Poole right there. Dale Jr. could have driven in the corner and gotten his left rear quarter panel, but on lap 4 decided not to do that.
William Byron in the 9 on the outside of Cole Custer. Those two fighting for position. You see Justin Allgaier in the helmet's number 7 make the move up.
And why 2 lanes work here at Richmond? Because if you look at William Byron, how he's able to enter the corner on that outside, you're actually better entering the corner. When you're Cole Custer on that bottom in the white 00 car, you have to turn your car earlier than you want to on corner entry, and it makes it get up the racetrack. It's hard to get it to turn. So that's why we see 2 equal grooves here at Richmond.
Yeah, but the negative of the equal grooves, so which is at a disadvantage? The top has a lot of chance to turn in here, but now the middle has to be the most difficult for the top groove. But now the exit, that seems to be the most difficult for the bottom. You see right there, Cole Custer, the back of that car wiggling around because you have to get power down, but yet not run into the car on the outside. Now Justin Allgaier is going to drive right in on his door and try to pin that 00 on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, you want to pinch him. You don't want to give the 00 any room. You want to put your door on his door so he can't use the racetrack. So he has to turn the wheel more, ask more of his car. When you're in that outside line, it's dangerous to do that, but you have to take any advantage away from that inside car.
Jeff, what I think of is not only asking a lot of his car, but asking a lot of those Goodyear tires. And if you abuse those rear tires early, that is lap time you're going to lose for the entire life of the tire. That tire only has so much life, and the more you take out of it early, the more you'll pay late.
Justin Allgaier, as we ride along on the Sunoco onboard, one of the 4 drivers, Xfinity Series drivers, that have won this year have locked themselves into the playoffs. William Byron, Justin Allgaier, Ryan Reed won at Daytona to start the season. And Jeremy Clements, the surprise winner at the road course just a couple weeks ago. The 4 drivers that have locked a spot in the playoffs up.
We saw Cole Custer drive to the door of Justin Allgaier in the middle of 3 or 4. Allgaier got in the corner and overdrove the entry just a touch, slid up the racetrack, and Cole tried to make a run at him, but Justin did a great job fighting him off.
21 of Daniel Henrik right there to pounce if Cole Custer does make a mistake. Xfinity Series where names are made. That's what a lot of these drivers are trying to do, is make a name for themselves.
So let's see right there, Justin Allgaier got in the corner just a little bit higher than he wanted to and really had to just slow the car up to keep the car in the second groove, and Cole couldn't finish the pass off. But a nice job by Justin Allgaier of controlling this situation. He got in too deep, but he got the car slowed down. Really no harm, no foul.
And Jeff, riding along with Justin Allgaier behind him are Cole Custer and Daniel Henrik. And here are 2 young drivers who have really improved in the second half of the season. And Jeff, you know it. You came up to be a young driver here in the Xfinity Series back in the day. Second time around to these racetracks, you get more familiar. You understand these cars better. And both of these young drivers are really impressing here in the second half of the season and certainly making a mark and saying, hey, we're going to contend for wins soon here in the series.
Well, you talk about young drivers. Cole Custer, just 19 years old from California. He has really impressed to be able to move up to the Xfinity Series as early as he's been able to.
He has, and that Justin Allgaier in that 7 car just in front of him at 31 years old. He has really run well at this style of racetrack. Led over 150 laps here in the spring. Led almost, I would say, dominated the Iowa race. A pit decision kind of took him out of there, which is easy to do. He won Phoenix, so he knows how to run at these short tracks, 3/4, 1 mile short tracks.
William Byron, another 19-year-old.
Look at the brakes. Look at as he enters the corner already on lap 14. Look at the right front brake rotor, how it's already glowing. Now these brakes are they're made to be hot. It's not a concern that you're seeing the brake rotor glow red, but it's a little concerning on lap 14. That's early to see that brake rotor glowing, so they might want to pull a little bit of tape off the brake duct or put a little bit of rear brake in it, or just tell William, hey,
that's it.
Back the brake off just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, not hurting the brakes, but what's it doing to the tires?
That's right.
And all that heat has to go somewhere, and it goes into the wheel, into the tire.
So William Byron currently holding on to the 5th spot. In front of him is Brennan Poole. Brennan Poole, the 26-year-old out of Woodlands, Texas, after starting on the front row, has dropped back to 4th now. Parker.
Right, Rick, but let's look who's in front of him. Cup drivers. And if you think back to last week, I was talking to Brennan Poole, and he said, you know, at points in the race at Darlington, when he looked on the scoring pylon, all he saw was Cup drivers. And so he thought, you know what, I'm doing a pretty good job. And that is the mark for a young driver. When those Cup drivers are in this series, is to find yourself being the best of the rest. Be the best of the Xfinity drivers. And that 48 car has done that in recent weeks. And he felt like right now, I asked him, you know, what is it, the uptick in performance, what has done that? And he said simply, I just feel like I'm on it. I'm on top of my game, and I'm better than I've ever been. And I know it because I'm up there running with the Cup guys. And I know that's a big discussion, guys, is should these Cup guys be in this series? But when you look at a driver like him, who's being able to benchmark himself against them, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know the fans have a lot of opinions about the Cup drivers, but every time I ask an Xfinity regular like Brennan Poole, like Justin Allgaier, they say, you know what? We like racing against them. We think they make us a better race car driver. So I think that's the balance.
Brennan Poole taking a look at the yardstick as to how he compares to the guys in front of him. Well, the only guys in front of him normally race on Sundays, the Cup guys. Great shot from Elliott Sadler as we ride along Richmond Raceway, short track racing on a Friday night. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion, now available on your mobile device. Select your favorite camera angle or driver with in-car video. You can even watch multiple angles at once. Never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. And welcome back to Richmond Raceway. Want to listen in on spotter communication from the one of Elliott Sadler.
Our brakes are going a lot more than everybody else's. Are they telling me thing or no? Yeah, if they stay that way, we probably need to tell them a little bit. Pull a little tape. I mean, they're bad compared to everybody else. Some guys aren't going at all.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less. We talked about it. The brakes getting very hot, glowing here at Richmond.
And a nice job. That was Brett Griffin, the spotter, bringing it up to crew chief Kevin Mendering, because sometimes the left sides won't glow. So Kevin Mendering might not know that the right sides are so hot. He never gets to see it. So great job of the spotter letting him know. But that shot right there just shows you Richmond. It shows you the difficulty of this racetrack, but also the opportunity. So as you see, the left front of Elliott Sadler's are glowing, and if the left front's glowing, that tells me that's a lot of brakes, because normally the right front glows first. But we saw Elliott Sadler, Jeff, running around the bottom of that end of the racetrack, but high down here in 1 and 2.
I think that's a good sign on lap 29 that you can run multiple grooves. So you can see right there how high he is up the racetrack, just using every bit of it. And you mentioned it. This shot, this says it all. So right here in 3 and 4, 3/4, in the third lane in 3 and 4. So I just think that groove will continue to widen out all night long.
And Rick, this is the advantage of the top. So he's going to run in. He doesn't gain a lot on corner entry. He probably loses in the middle. But watch on corner exit. You should be able to pick up the throttle much harder, much more aggressively off the top lane. He didn't do it that time. As he looks up into the mirror, you see him look up, check the traffic behind him. Here on the corner exit of turn 4, can he pick up the throttle and commit and try to run down that 11 of Blake Cook?
And it's got to be difficult for Elliott Sadler to come to Richmond Raceway. He's from Emporia, Virginia, so not very far from here. Come to this racetrack and still have not been able to win. His best finish in the Xfinity Series is second.
Well, we saw when we came on air that he was standing next to the car with all the kids, and he coaches baseball, he coaches basketball, he coaches kids all year round in his hometown. He saw all those kids. He loves that environment. He loves being in his hometown. He loves spending time at home. That's why he loves the Xfinity Series. It allows him to do those things. He enjoys it so much, and it would be so much fun to win and take those kids to victory lane. There's nothing like that.
Kelly.
We're moving on to the 7 of Justin Allgaier. He is in the playoffs by way of his win at Phoenix, which came early in the year. So tonight, really all about collecting as many of those playoff bonus points as possible. He told me no better way to do that, of course, than with a win. And he has been good here at Richmond, but he says that doesn't mean he comes here with the best of feelings for this place. He kind of feels like he's been robbed of a couple of victories, certainly in April when he led a race-high 157 laps only to finish runner-up. So he's really looking for a little bit of redemption tonight. They missed the mark in qualifying, but he's been on the move moving forward here in the race, Parker.
Well, Kelly, back in 14th place, one driver who doesn't feel comfortable here is Christopher Bell. This is his first trip to Richmond in the Xfinity Series. He's currently leading the points in the Truck Series, but he told me earlier today after practice he felt a little bit lost, that this place was really tough, and right now just really struggling to get that race car to turn. Even feels like it may be on the splitter at times. So just a struggle. And Jeff, I know you can talk about this, but you've come here for the first time. This is a very unique short track, and for a young driver trying to learn an Xfinity car and a track at the same time, that can be a tall order.
Parker, I think that point you just made is you're trying to learn two things, and I think that's huge. The trucks are completely different than an Xfinity car. They drive different. They have aerodynamics that are different. It's just a completely different world, and then you come to this racetrack. This racetrack, although it's awesome and it's fun, it's a lot like Darlington in that it's very, very difficult, and it takes some people longer to adjust to it than it does others.
It's Christopher Bell's first starts here at this racetrack in the Xfinity Series. As we look back, we'll bump there.
And no matter what car or what track, that doesn't work very well.
That was Ty Dillon that gave him a little bit of shove there in the 3. Christopher Bell currently in 14th. Out front, it's Kyle Busch. He has a 1.1 second lead over Brad Keselowski. with just 2 races until the playoffs start. Those near the bubble cannot be comfortable. Guys like Mike Lynette, Brendan Gaughan right now, they're on the plus side. But Dakota Armstrong, he's just below that cut line, as well as Ross Chastain and J.J. Yaley. Those guys fighting for a shot at a championship. Blake Cook in the 11. Marty?
And Rick, you saw him plus 44. Is he above the cut line? I was talking to Chris Rice. He said, we have a brand new car. We have a battle for the lead, more importantly. But he said, we're going to call this race very conservatively tonight. We may be able to finish top 8 speed-wise, but we're going to be very conservative in how we call it, Rick.
Here comes Brad Keselowski. Looking to the inside of that 18. He has made up the difference. It was 1.1 seconds when we went away. And now Keselowski running that bottom line while Kyle Busch runs the high line.
And what makes this possible, Rick, is when we talk about short track racing, that's one thing. But this surface at Richmond is old. It's wore out. It tears the tires up. And some cars are better over the long run than others. And it looks to me that Brad Keselowski has one of those cars as he clears the 18 off turn 2. Now back to the bottom of the racetrack, and we'll try to put some distance on Kyle Busch.
And Steve, talking to the 22 team after practice, they felt very good about how strong that car was on the longer runs. On the flip side of that, Kyle Busch team said, hey, we're very good in the short runs, but we kind of struggle on these older tires. But Steve, you know how important that is to be good on older tires here. Kyle Busch right now saying his car started too free. Now it's way too tight. Brad Keselowski has taken the lead.
What can be detrimental about the fact that we have run 47 green flag laps already? What can be bad about that?
Well, we talked about that brake temperature. We've showed that the rotors are glowing. You see the left front glowing on the 21 on the right-hand side of your screen. Well, the concern is while the brakes are not going to fail, they are designed, as Jeff said, to run 13, 14, 1,500 degrees. That heat comes out of the brakes, Rick, into the wheel. That wheel where the tire sits is exactly the same spot. If you run too long at that much temperature, there is a chance you can actually melt the tire. Air comes out. Not good combination for a race car driver.
Brendan Poole, William Byron, side by side. Those two fighting for the 6th spot. Poole had it, and Byron's trying to take it away. William Byron running the bottom of the racetrack now, and he easily takes that spot away. So Byron to 6th. Poole drops back to 7th.
And you can see how the cars are really sliding around. We got in the back of that shot. You saw Justin Allgaier come out of turn 2 just completely sideways. You know, really think about it, it's only 51 laps. It's not that you haven't run that far, but you can already see how much the cars have slowed down. And this is so hard to make this pass when you don't have rear grip. You can't lay the throttle down. So running that outside allows Brendan Poole just to carry a little bit more speed on corner exit because the car is straighter. He doesn't have to turn the car. Justin Allgaier on the bottom trying to stay off of Brendan Poole. He's got to turn the wheel. He's got to just put left wheel into it. And every time you do that, the rear tires want to spin.
Allgaier making the move as he tries to get by the 48 and into the wall. There's the 40 sliding up the racetrack. Bobby Earnhardt.
Right here, I'll get you down. You didn't hit the wall. I think right front's down here.
Yeah, we saw the sparks.
Easy here.
We'll have to take a look at it and find out for sure from Goodyear, but it has all the makings of what we talked about. Perhaps that melted bead. The air came out of the right front tire. That's a little bit of speculation at the moment, and Goodyear will look at it and make sure they didn't run something over, but 52 laps into a run, it's got all the makings of a melted right front tire. You see right there halfway down the straightaway, tire goes flat, the car sits down on the suspension, the sparks are flying. The 98 right there does a really nice job. Casey Mears realizes he is in a bad place on the outside of this 40, gets on the brakes, slows down enough to turn past him, doesn't get collected. But yeah, Jeff, we've seen this before, haven't we?
I was going to say, if you've seen it over and over, I don't know to speculating anymore. I think it's pretty safe calling it.
So the first caution comes out after 53 laps are complete. Again, 75 laps in this first stage.
Well, now we go back to the conversation we had at the top of the show, Rick. Tires are of huge value. With 22 to go, everyone wants tires. Everyone needs tires. We've seen the 40 car already fail a right front. But this race isn't going to be broken up as evenly as you want because you have 4 sets. Start with a set on the car. The math is real easy. You need 50 laps out of every set. So you could come right now and put a set of tires on. Everybody will. But then we're going to run short. 20 laps to the end of the next stage. Does that mean you put another set of tires on, or do you not? So these crew chiefs in the Xfinity Series, with this tire limitation, it becomes even more complicated with the stages, and also more entertaining to watch when they have to make these choices.
And with only 18 cars in the lead lap, you could gamble a little bit here. You could, if you're Elliott Sadler, you could say, hey, let's don't pit here. Like, we know it's going to kill us. We know that we're going to
You're going to be the last car.
You're going to be the last car when the caution comes out for the stage in, but maybe you steal a set of tires late in the race because you have a set that you didn't use here. The only thing you need to do is win. Get playoff points. Will let somebody gamble on that?
Bobby Earnhardt, the son of Jeffrey Earnhardt. And it looks as though just a few will take advantage of coming to pit road, including the 21 of Daniel Henrik, as well as Ty Dillon. He made the hard turn. We will shuffle the field and we'll reset when we come back. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Bank of America. Life better connected. And we mentioned the 21 of Daniel Henrik coming to pit road. Well, he made the commitment a little too late.
Yeah, he turned very, very late, clipped the commitment box. We've seen this over and over and over. It's so hard to see right there. It's a game of inches, but a rule's a rule. So now they came and pitted, Steve, put tires on, trying to get a stage win. Now the penalty is you got to start at the tail end of the longest line. There are 5 other cars that pitted behind him. He's going to have to start behind all of them. A good gamble, gone bad.
And Jeff, you saw how close he was to that 0-0. He just didn't have a reference point, he said, and he caught it too close to him. And so he said, that was completely my fault, guys. I should have given myself a little more gap so I could see that commitment cone and not hit it.
Well, you talk about new tires, so Daniel Henrik has taken himself out. He doesn't have a chance at this stage win where he's going to start. But now let's talk about Ryan Reed, Ty Dillon, Christopher Bell, Brendan Gaughan. They're starting all the way back in 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. And this is going to seem crazy, Rick, but with 17 to go, I still think they're in the driver's seat. This track is wide. They're going to run a second or a second and a half faster than these leaders will on these first few laps.
Interesting here. Brad Keselowski on the inside as they enter the Geico Restart zone. Kyle Busch on the outside. These two up front have fought for positions over and over and over in the Xfinity Series. And the outside line prevails that time. Kyle Busch gets the lead.
You said interesting move about Keselowski picking the bottom. I agree. I thought that was a very interesting move. It's really surprised he didn't pick the top.
So we talked about new tires as we're on board right here with Justin Allgaier, where you're going to see back there in the distance behind William Byron. Well, that is the 3 of Ty Dillon on fresh tires. He's going to turn to the bottom and easily take the 9-3 wide with Brennan Poole. He's passing 3, 4, 5 cars a lap. With 15 to go, he has his sights set on the front of this field at the stage end.
He's already made his way up to 6th.
And he's bringing Christopher Bell with him also. Christopher Bell also was on pit road.
Justin Allgaier turns down just in front of the 3, but it's not going to be enough. And the 3 continuing to chip away. Now Ty Dillon all the way up to 4th.
14 to go.
Well, and with 14 to go, Joey Logano is trying to get to the back bumper of Kyle Busch. He knows those fresh tires are coming, so he wants to try to pass him as soon as he can. It seems like the 18 is better on cold tires. It's not even new tires. These tires have just cooled off. He's able to jump out to a little bit of a lead, but not just a few laps in. Now Keselowski seems to have just a little more pace through the middle of the corner.
It's not going to matter here in just a minute.
No.
Ty Dillon's going to mow them down. He's coming at a high rate of speed behind them. I mean, he's there. How many laps did that take? 3 laps? Here you are.
Yeah.
And this is
4
why,
laps.
but this is why these tires didn't pit. Because now, why this is impressive for Ty Dillon and Christopher Bell, they have used this set of tires. Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski hope that these fresh set that they didn't use is going to pay off at the end of the race.
They'll be able to do the same thing once they put their tires on.
But, you know, you let me know when the cautions come out. I'll let you know who made the right decision.
But what is Ty Dillon, what is Christopher Bell, what do they have to lose? I mean, what if you get a lot of green flag runs and now you've gained all this track position and they don't get to use that extra set of tires? What if that happens? Then this is a potential race-winning move. If it goes bad, they're not racing for a championship. They're not racing for the opportunity to hold a crown in Miami. They're simply trying to win this race tonight.
Well, we heard Parker talk about the struggles of Christopher Bell. He said he was, quote, lost, just a little lost on the racetrack. Well, he is doing a remarkable job chasing Ty Dillon through traffic, not letting him get away. 2-3 car lengths, and I think the 20 is actually a little quicker to be able to stay that close. So now, with 10 to go, can he find a way to win the stage? Like you talk about, it's not for a driver's championship, but it's still for ego. Can Christopher Bell prove to Toyota on the hood of this race car that he is worthy, that he can outrun Ty Dillon?
All right, Steve, what if I throw this crazy idea at you as far as a strategy? What if Ty Dillon ends up winning this stage and they decide, you know what, we're going to come in and put fresh tires on. And then they take these tires, glue them back up, and use them at the end of the race if they have to.
I think you have to. I don't think they can afford to stay out because with 20 laps on his tires, you know, if that race goes 70 laps of green flag, he's going to lose 1, probably 2 laps. So I think they're just hoping that there's going to be long runs later in the race. But here you see that battle for the lead. Christopher Bell moving up the racetrack, using that middle line, getting the run. Here comes the crossover, looking low into turn 1.
Trying to take the lead away. Christopher Bell on the inside. Bell trying to hug the yellow line. Now being pinched down by the 3 of Ty Dillon.
Wow, that's close. Ty Dillon trying to use that car as a pick. Gave Christopher a little bit of room, not a lot of room, but 6 to go, man. You got to go.
He's hanging on. Dillon still out front. Christopher Bell still fighting for that top spot.
You know, another driver as we don't talk about as we see this great battle right here is Brendan Gaughan, also pitted. He's back there in 3rd. Why is that important? Well, think of all those points he's going to get for that stage finish. If he ends up in 3rd, that's going to help. Remember, he was the driver on the cut line.
Christopher Bell, once again, making the move, trying to get by. Can't do it.
Oh, experience. The lap cars are definitely hurting the 20. He hasn't either gotten lucky or just picked the right lane on some of these lap cars.
And Steve, it doesn't surprise me where that 20 is making time, and it's really on the X of the corners. You look at his drive off when he got that run on the 3. It was off the X of the 2, and he told me one of the things he did feel like he had for this race tonight was great drive off. And I let him know that will definitely play in his favor if he's got the chance. And right now, with Ty Dillon in his sights, he has that chance of using that drive off to get in the lead.
See Bell, the 22-year-old from Norman, Oklahoma, chasing after Ty Dillon, trying to take that top spot away. Less than 4 laps now in the first stage.
And behind these guys, Daniel Henrik. Remember, Daniel Henrik was the first guy on pit road, came in, pitted 5th, he got penalized, but he's driven himself up to 4th, and he started in 34th. So that show, I mean, it's clear that these tires are a huge advantage.
Brendan Gaughan also fighting, stay up here in the top 4. He's currently 3rd, and Gaughan needing a great finish as he is right on the cut line.
And you see right there the 33 and the 4, they're racing to be the first car 1 lap down. So with 2 laps to go, they're going to race hard trying to be that first car 1 lap down.
Pit road is closed, 2 laps to go until the end of the stage.
And
Dillon holding on to that lead.
Listen, I like this strategy of Henrik. I don't think he's running as hard as he could be running. There's no need. You're not going to run those top 3 down. You might decide to stay out here. Don't hurt these tires. Run no harder than you have to run. There it is. There it was.
And around goes to 33.
That was a battle to get back in the lead lap.
A little contact was made, and the 33 goes around. Brandon Jones was running 20th as the checkered and yellow flag are displayed at the same time.
Jeff, that was so great of you to point out, because these are the things that frustrate drivers. 50 laps from now, 100 laps from now, we're going to see the 33 perhaps run into a car, and we're going to ask ourselves, why? How did that happen? That time he got spun, but so many times at short tracks they're at contact and they don't end up spinning, Rick. But those drivers still remember when they were moved out of the way. Right here, you called it, how difficult this race was going to be. Well, the 4 drives in, gets loose, drives in a little too deep, too hard on the brakes, up the track into the quarter panel of the 33.
Yeah, I think Chastain just trying a little bit too hard right there. Just wasn't going to be able to get his car to turn, overdrove the entry, and just got in the side of
It wasn't intentional, but do you think Brandon Jones cares that it wasn't intentional? Because I'm not sure he does.
Well, Brandon Jones' answer would be, well, you got a gas pedal on that thing, don't you? You got a gas pedal on a brake?
So the winner of stage number 1 is Dillon. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing here at Richmond Raceway, where after this weekend, the infield of this track is going to look completely different. A $30 million redevelopment project. It's Richmond Raceway Reimagined. They're going to bring the fans even closer to the action. The garage that we know it for Xfinity Series will be completely wiped out. That'll actually be on the back stretch. They're going to be a huge stage out here to bring the fans closer, make it a lot more exciting environment inside. But you guys can tell the racing is still going to be great here, Rick. We know that much.
Absolutely, and here they come to pit road. Parker.
See Christopher Bell, who came so close to winning that stage, will come down and get 4 Goodyear tires. He was struggling with that car being a little tight in the run before he put those tires on that last run, and now he says it's a lot better as he takes off.
And that stage win went to Ty Dillon, who said he was loose on entry, then just said, well, I'm just too loose overall. You saw they made a track bar adjustment for Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, Marty.
Kelly, officially it was 19th to 4th for Daniel Henrik, but really it was the tire back of the field to 4th for Daniel Henrik. A very impressive dive. In fact, Danny Stockman said, that's how I want you driving all the time. He wanted no changes to that 21, and Rick, as you'll see, they also won the race off pit road as well.
Yeah, pit stall number 1 working out great there for Daniel Henrik. He makes up 2 spots and wins the race off of pit road. Want to chat with Brendan Gaughan, who made a valiant run there. He's right on the edge of the cut line.
Hey, Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Burton, you got us?
Yeah, we have that set to put on the stage end even. 10-4.
Hey, Brendan Gaughan, Jeff Burton, you got us?
Gotcha, Mr. Burton.
Sorry to step on top of you there. So you guys stayed out, put tires on a little bit ago. Those new tires were obviously huge. What's the reason you stayed out right here?
We think we'll be able to fade back to probably 15th, 18th again. Remember, we're just racing a couple guys that we need to focus on. So that was a big deal getting those stage points right there. If we can hold on to get to the next stage here, we'll be all right with our tires and be back with a tire bonus over everybody with 1 extra. So Shane Wilson and I, we tend to agree on things, Jeff. And we agreed on this one, so we'll see how South Point Chevy can hold on to it.
So what's your strategy right now, Brendan? As a driver, you know what those new tires meant to you, so you know you got new tires behind you. How are you going to manage this stage with these older tires?
We're driving, going to let a bunch of guys go just freight train us here, but the goal is to get to about that 15th spot and maintain for the rest of the run, see if we can hold on that long. I think we can. I saved those tires on that run there. I got the clear air and let those guys beat me. So I think we did that smart. We'll be able to save it to about a 15th spot and gain us a bunch of points, be in position for the next 2 stages.
Well, Brendan, thank you and Shane, your crew chief, for letting us join in. Good luck tonight, bud.
Anytime, buddy. Thank you.
There's Shane Wilson. Those two have been together for quite some time, won quite a few Truck Series races as well, especially in the state of Texas. Brendan Gaughan out front here at Richmond. And welcome back to the Virginia529 College Savings 250. I want to take a look at the stage results presented by Ford Performance. Again, only the drivers that are running full-time in the Xfinity Series are able to receive stage points. So that's why you see Brendan Gaughan, Daniel Henrik, Cole Custer, and Justin Allgaier all receiving points from stage 1. And we We just heard from Brendan Gaughan. He thinks that they have an advantage. And again, they are fighting for that 12th position. They want to make sure that they make it into the playoffs. But again, they have one race remaining after tonight's race. Brendan Gaughan knows that once the green flag flies, those with fresher tires are going to blow right by him. But he wants to maintain a spot somewhere near 15th. There's a playoff bubble.
So what's great about this strategy, that got them in front of the two guys that have dominated this race. Prior to that strategy, Keselowski and Busch, they were gone. Now this gets you in front of them. What can you do with them now that you've got that track position?
And right now, because the 62 is leading, that's why he's not on the bubble anymore as they enter the Geico Restart zone. Back to racing.
Fortunately for Brendan Gaughan, he's not going to be leading long. These new tires are coming and coming quick. Now he has to somehow hold his position without getting run over.
And way up the racetrack he goes, and Christopher Bell stuck behind him. Brad Keselowski wasting a little time working to the outside, trying to get by Ty Dillon. Daniel Henrik out front, though.
And just like that, Christopher Bell lost all that track position in one corner.
Yep. How about that move right there at the bottom of your screen? Elliott Sadler was 4 wide. He's going to have to try to get back in line. That is a nice job entering so low into turn 1. I love these high shots. You can just see how much chaos they have. And then if you go from there right into the cockpit of Elliott Sadler and look at the work. I love this shot because you can see his hand, Jeff. It really shows work in that steering wheel.
And look at that red flashing gauge. I can't tell if that's the water or the oil, but obviously pretty excessive on temperature right there. That's not unusual under caution on a short track. You don't get the air flowing through the radiator. You would think after you run a little bit, it's going to cool on. There you go, boom. Now it's white, rather red. Red is the signal that you're too hot. Ran under green just a little bit. Now the temps come down.
Checks the mirror and then focuses on the next car he wants to get by.
That is so cool. You know, to see his helmet move, look at the mirror.
Here comes Brad Keselowski trying to get by that 3 of Ty Dillon. Still Henrik out in front. Dillon running second, and Keselowski now moving to the inside. Will try to take the spot away on the inside of Dillon.
Oh, Ty Dillon, he won't make it easy for him. He's an aggressive race car driver. Gives 100% every time he sits in that seat. That's the way his grandfather likes it. You know, his grandfather, Richard Childress, loves aggressive race car drivers.
They call him Pop Pop. He and his brother Austin.
So this is a perfect example as we see this great battle for second. Out front, pulling away, Daniel Henrik in the 21. Remember, Rick, before all these cautions and all these strategies came out, he was a 5th to 6th place car. Didn't seem like he had anything for these front cars, these leaders. But with that fresh racetrack to be able to use both lines, I know it didn't work for him to win that stage, but he has gained some track position. Now he's behind a set of tires, may hurt him later in the race, but at this point, he's showing that he does have a good car. As Kyle Busch says, you know what? I'm just going to go 3 wide. I've had enough.
He was outside, inside, middle. Surely there's a way I can get by these guys.
Kyle Busch now trying to get by Ty Dillon as he runs right along that yellow line. Abusing the tires a little bit early in this run. We'll see if they're able to hold on as he fights for that second spot. Marty.
And this is nice for a young driver like Daniel Henrik to be up front leading like this. It's funny because before the race he told me we're not going to be as good tonight as we were in the spring. They finished 3rd here in the spring. He said we're trying some things that we think might help us when we get to the playoffs. I would say the things they're trying are working out pretty well, but Daniel Henrik having a very nice run out front here at Richmond Raceway. He's very comfortable at, Kelly.
Ty Dillon now in the 3rd spot. He's trying to end a winless drought that dates back to his win at Indy a couple of years ago. Well, this might be just the place to do it, as crew chief Matt Swiderski telling me that this is definitely one of his better tracks. It's the place they show up to and feel like they can run up front all night. We saw how those fresh tires helped get them up front, and now he's trying to hold position. They think that their short track program has closed the gap a little bit on some of those other teams, so they're really hoping to capitalize tonight and get RCR back to victory lane.
He's got his work cut out for him. as Brendan Gaughan also has his work cut out for him. Brendan wanted to be about 15th. Already he's fallen back to 18th, and there are only 20 on the lead lap. He's 8 seconds behind race leader Daniel Henrik.
Yeah, what does 8 seconds look like? Brendan Gaughan is in the middle of 3 and 4 right now. Daniel Henrik's entering turn 1. So I think the concern for Brendan Gaughan really is, if this thing goes green, can they come back around and get and lap him? I think that's really going to be the concern.
And there's 54 laps still to go in stage 2 as the fight for the lead begins. To the outside goes Kyle Busch. And Kyle Busch is going to easily get by the 21 of Daniel Henrik, and he uses the outside line.
But how about Daniel Henrik? We got the report from Marty. I mean, there is no question the second half of this year, Daniel Henrik has started to show that he belongs in this Xfinity series. He has learned, he's applied. He's been in the front of the races for the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's starting to be a constant contender, starting to put himself in position over and over and over. And that's when you see that first win come. That's when it happens. So Daniel Henrik doing a very nice job.
Another young driver doing a very nice job. Cole Custer in that 0-0. He's trying to work on his boss man, Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in the pack a little bit for the 5th position as we see Joey Logano get by Henrik. Henrik at this point, I think best thing he can do is settle in, save some tire. It's going to be a long run, still very early in the race. You know, still 150 to go in this race.
Ty Dillon has dropped back to the 4th position as Henrik was able to get by him. Rutledge.
Rick, former crew chief Steve Letarte was on the money when he said if he was the 3 team, he would save those tires, glue new lug nuts on them. That's exactly what the team's doing down here. They're hoping for every advantage they can get tonight. A smart move with those tires, guys.
That's it. You got to use everything available, Rutledge. These teams know that those tires are going to be used again. Get them glued up, get them ready to go. And, you know, me, old habits are hard to break, so I had the 0-0 as a teammate to Dale Earnhardt Jr. That was only 1 whole year ago. So I'm finally catching on that Stewart-Haas Racing has created their own team. Cole Custer's doing a very nice job in this 0-0. Made his debut here back in 16. Ran 6th, ran inside the top 10. Currently running in the 6th position again.
Well, he's still chasing after Dale Earnhardt Jr. Currently in the 6th spot. Kyle Busch out front. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. Catch all the action of NASCAR on NBC with the NBC Sports app. Get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, and track information anytime, anywhere. And welcome back. 108 laps complete of the 250, 42 still to go in stage number 2. Dillon was able to win stage 1, as we see a little glowing still in the left fronts of the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Allgaier currently running in the 8th position now, as Kyle Busch is out front. Brad Keselowski running second, about a second back. Parker.
Guys, well, right ahead of Justin Allgaier, there's the 20 of Christopher Bell. We know he went way back on that restart when he got stuck behind the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. But since then, he's found himself kind of comfortable in the position inside the top 10. We talked about how much he struggled here in practice. One of the things he wanted to do was get in the race and run around others, as he has Justin Allgaier right in his rear bumper, and be able to see what they're doing and start to learn the racetrack. And that's what he's done, reporting recently that is just starting to build loose as he tries to hold that 7 car of Justin Allgaier off, guys.
Yeah, and we're watching the 7 car of Allgaier right now jump on the outside of Christopher Bell. But also look at that left front side skirt starting to move around a little bit. Remember,
peel away. It looks like.
Composite bodies, first night tonight. So maybe we're seeing a little bit of a weak point in the composite body, or where it's attached. We're not sure right now, obviously, but you can see it starting to rip away just a little bit. But watch what's interesting enough is he gets in the corner. Many times it quits moving. Down the straightaway, it flops and moves around a lot. But in the corner, from an aerodynamic standpoint, now you're turning, and the air is coming from the other side of the car, and you see that side skirt really lay down. It doesn't move it around as much as it does on the straight.
And Jeff, that was one of the things that these crew chiefs were worried about. Those side skirts are a lot thinner than what they've normally been running on the steel bodies. They're actually mandated to be a 1/16 of an inch, and therefore they felt like they were very thin and could have a problem like this that we're seeing on the 7 by getting detached from just hitting the racetrack too hard.
Well, it's going to seem counterproductive, but as a crew chief, if I could tear the left front skirt off, I would, because it would make more downforce. So I don't think the 7 had this planned. I mean, you can see it's clearly broken and the bolts are all still in. But I'm not sure that anyone on the 7 team is too disappointed to see that skirt flapping. It's actually letting some air out from underneath the race car, maybe making a little more downforce. But if it is a durability concern and that broke off the right side, that would be a major aerodynamic detriment.
And we want to listen into the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., his radio just moments ago.
Good corner. I'm sure you adjusted your brakes there, but just use your tool. Should be not a bad lap, I don't think. There is a dog fight behind us, man. That's 00, 27, and 9.
And there you go. Listening into some communication there for the 88 team. I'd mentioned earlier the 40 of Bobby Earnhardt, when he cut a right front tire, or the right front tire went down. I had referenced Jeffrey Earnhardt. I meant to say Jeffrey's his brother. Kerry is their father. I think I may have misspoken there, but Bobby and Jeffrey are brothers. Kerry is their father. As we see a battle now, Christopher Bell trying to get by the 1 of Elliott Sadler. Bell using that outside line. And nowhere to go for the 20 as he gets bottled up there in the high side. And that's how he lost so many spots. Followed Brendan Gaughan up the racetrack and lost almost 8 spots in 1 turn.
Well, Christopher Bell is a talented race car driver. Let's make no bones about it. He is a very good race car driver, but he's having to adjust. He's been driving trucks. He drives midgets. He drives really very, very good dirt racer, but he's got to learn these cars. It doesn't happen overnight. He's going to have success in this sport. That I'm not concerned about.
Well, and I think it's fair to say that, as it should be in the levels of NASCAR, when you go from trucks to Xfinity, the field is tougher. And it's tougher yet again to go to Cup. So, I mean, that's the idea, right? Those are the stepping stones of NASCAR. As you run with success in one series, move up, get some experience in the next series up.
Teammate to Christopher Bell out in front. The 20 of Kyle Busch. He's won 6 times before at this racetrack, and now the most all-time as far as laps led at Richmond, 1,389 and counting. 74 already this race, and it doesn't look like anybody's close to challenging him for the lead right now.
I was thinking the same thing, but as I watch this run, that 22 of Brad Keselowski, it's kind of an accordion. He will run the lead down to 6, 7, 8 tenths of a second, and then it just feels like he gets stuck either behind 2 lap cars side by side. Maybe he just commits to the bottom, but you see him right there jump into the screen. That black and bright green number 22. Keselowski seemed to have the lap times, but once again, Kyle Busch is in clean air. Brad is stuck back there in the middle of 2 lap cars, having to work around both of them.
And Steve, it just seems like, though, on this run, the 18's able to maintain that gap a little bit better. We'll see here with 28 to go here if the 22 can catch them. Now, normal crew chief is Eric Phillips. You remember Denny Hamlin was in this car last week. Eric Phillips was suspended 2 races after they found a post-race infraction. So filling in this week, Matt Lucas. Now, if you'll notice on the left-hand side of Matt's headset, it still says Eric. Now, Steve, you've been a fill-in crew chief before. Can we not get Matt a new headset that says Matt? It still says Eric Phillips. He'll be back in a couple weeks on this 18 team. But this week, filling in Matt Lucas.
Maybe he doesn't want the full time. He wants to make sure Eric knows he's welcome back. He's just here to help out when he can.
Well, that 18 car, he is leading the race, but directly in front of him, Brendan Gaughan, who we talked about, you know, staying out on this tire strategy. We were concerned if this thing went green that he wouldn't be able to stay in a lead lap. Well, guess what? Look who's coming. Right now, the difference is only about 10 car lengths between the 62 and the 18, and the 18's coming quick.
Yeah, he'll make very light work of Brendan Gaughan here as Kyle Busch dominating as he's running about 24-second laps, where Brendan Gaughan's running almost 25-second laps, so about a second difference between the two.
And remember this, Rick, there's still 25 laps to go in this stage. I mean, we're not, you know, we're not that close to the end of this stage, so this damage could get worse as this thing goes much longer.
Kyle Busch does get by Brendan Gaughan. He is now a lap down. It's time for us to go NASCAR nonstop. Short track racing from Richmond. Such a great perspective as we look down on Richmond Raceway. Our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Rutledge.
Rick, there's a very distinct smell down here in the infield, and if you spent any time at a racetrack, you definitely know it is the smell of hot brakes that are really getting a lot of use. We've seen it from up there, but Jeff, I want to know from a driver's perspective, do you ever get any sense beyond the pedal feel of exactly how hot those brakes are and what they're doing as the race goes on?
I think the biggest thing that you can do is you can feel the brakes. I think ultimately that's how you do feel them, Rutledge, is that the pedal gets a little spongy, meaning when you push on the brake pedal, it's just not as firm as it once was. It doesn't stop as well as it once did either. So with brakes, you need friction, right? That's what makes them work. And as they get hotter, sometimes that friction goes away, and also the stiffness of the pedal can go away. Rutledge, you started talking about smells in the infield, and we did a Smithfield commercial. I thought bacon was coming. I'm hungry now.
And let's go through the field. We'll start with Marty.
And we'll start with Kyle Busch, who's out front. And it's very funny, in the first run, Rick, he said about 15 laps in, the car started getting too tight. In this run, took about 45 laps into the run for the car to get too tight for Kyle Busch, going for his 7th Xfinity win here at Richmond. Right now, he's in the lead. Behind him is Brad Keselowski. And they asked him earlier, what do you want us to do to help the car at the beginning part of the run? He said, I think it's better on the beginning part of the run than you guys think it is. We're just really good on the longer run. Right now for Keselowski, car's starting to get just a little bit too tight. But again, trying to reel in Kyle Busch up there, who's in the lead. And third is Daniel Henrik. And he told me earlier this week, he said the strength for us this year have really been the short tracks and the flat tracks. That's proving out once again. Henrik right now in the 3rd position. He said I could use a little more grip though when we come back down pit road. Kelly.
Well, Dillon qualified 16th, used some tire strategy to gain backtrack position, has been able to maintain a top 5 running position. His crew chief, Matt Swiderski, telling me these short tracks, he really has a lot of confidence. It starts in practice. Ty knows exactly what he wants out of the car. They're really able to focus on long runs, which is paying off now, Parker.
Jr. runs in the 5th position right now, and it's not surprising to see him there because his record here is astonishing at Richmond, winning his last 3 starts in the Xfinity Series in that car, and his last win and his first win for Junior Motorsports coming here in April last year. Right now, just suffering a loose condition in that 88 car, Kelly.
Well, Justin Allgaier has always been good here at Richmond, but he tells me the first time he came here, it was a wreck fest. He said he wrecked in practice, wrecked on lap 2, wrecked on lap 6. He said there was bear bond all over the car, fenders were off the car, but then he went back out and ran the fastest lap of anyone in the race. The team said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He's been fast here ever since.
And catching him right now, Kelly, is the one car of Elliott Sadler's we ride on board his helmet cam. What a great view. Right now just suffering a bit of a tight condition, but moving forward. And that is the key. That is what that one car wants to do to be able to clinch that regular season championship here tonight, Marty.
Parker, 10 laps to go here in stage 2, rapidly coming to an end. Earlier we were talking about Cole Custer kind of bragging on him in the second half of the season. Proof of that, they have 6 top 10s in their last 8 races. Kind of hanging on to that race car right now. You see him really struggling with a tight race car as he washes up the racetrack, trying to hold off William Byron, who's right behind him. He said his car also started a little bit too tight. Now it's getting tighter the longer they run, Kelly.
Well, for Paul Menard, their struggle today has been their fire-off speed. They feel like they're better on the longer run. When I talked to Paul before the start of the race, he said he's really running this just to help get some extra laps. This is a track where he struggled on the Cup side of things. He hopes getting these 250 laps tonight will help him in tomorrow night's race. Rick?
Great job, guys. Kyle Busch again out front, and just 7 laps remaining in this second stage.
Yeah, but Rick, Brad Keselowski, in the first stage, we saw him seem to come on. It took about 50 laps on those old tires to run the 18 down. While we're much farther into the run now, that we're completing lap 60 of green flag racing, he has started to chip away at that lead and seems like consistently running a little bit better. You see right here, gaining about a car length through this set of corners.
That was a lot of ground made right there in the middle of the corner. Brad able to roll the center of the corner.
Can it be a case of Brad Keselowski maybe taking a little easier on his tires, knowing that with only 5 laps to go in this stage, that he could use those tires a little bit harder now to get the lead.
Well, it's either a setup that is saving rear tires or Brad Keselowski doing a great job of saving rear tires. But whatever the reason, the result is a much faster car on a longer run.
Kyle Busch, he saw the same thing we saw. He saw Keselowski roll the middle of the corner in the middle of the racetrack, making up lap time, making up ground. Well, guess what he did? Now, I'm not going to give you that. So he immediately rolled to the middle of the corner, not going to give Keselowski what he wanted.
Keselowski's just doing a nice job. Sorry, Rick. He just doesn't seem to be slipping any tires. You know, he's driving the car within its limits. As we show the onboard right here, you see him working the steering wheel, little free in, lot of steering wheel in the center, just like you'd expect. As he picks up the throttle, he has to catch it a little bit for that loose off. But overall, I consider that a pretty, what I would call, straight drive. You know, he's driving the tires in a straight position, not letting slide either the front or the rear. That helps tire life.
Kyle Busch clinging to that lead, Steve. 4 laps to go here in the stage. And one interesting thing he said, Jeff, said the car is way too tight. So what he's had to do is slow down his entry into the corner to get it to roll through the center better. We'll see if that helps him hold on to the lead right here.
Under 3 to go, and Keselowski just peeked to the inside of that 18, letting him know I'm here. Now, how aggressive will Brad be trying to take the lead and potentially getting the win here in stage 2?
Would you be surprised if these two got together? Kyle Busch got in the wall just a little bit.
He did, and that contact with the wall slowed him down enough. Just under 2 laps to go. Keselowski on the inside trying to take that lead away.
It's going to be so hard to make this pass, though. We saw him having to put wheel into the car in the middle of the corner, and that just, the car, the front end doesn't want to turn. You don't want to make rear grip. It's so hard trying to make the pass on the inside.
1 to go. Half a car length separating Brad Keselowski and the 18 of Kyle Busch. Can he make the pass complete now?
Brad drove in really deep to try to get in front of the 18, slid up, didn't make contact, but it was definitely an aggressive entry. Will he be able to clear him here in the middle of 3 and 4? If not, Rick, it's going to be a drag race to the line.
Here he comes on the outside. Keselowski has the lead. He'll win stage 2.
Nice job, clear.
You called it. He did a great job in the middle of 1 and 2, used a lot of racetrack, got Kyle Busch up the racetrack. That got him the lead and ultimately won in the stage.
And that's not about points. That is about momentum. That is a moral victory, a big victory for this 22 car of Brad Keselowski. And that has to be just a little chink in the armor of Kyle Busch to think he couldn't hold him off for just 1 more lap to finish that stage.
So Ty Dillon wins stage 1, and now Brad Keselowski, valiant effort, gets stage 2. And welcome back to the Virginia 529 College Savings 250. Again, it was Brad Keselowski who ends up getting the win in stage 2. A great battle between him and Kyle Busch. Daniel Henrik, Dillon, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. were the top 5 in that stage.
And listen, Keselowski and Busch, they put on a great race, but also the winners here, remember, Daniel Henrik and Dillon, they took an extra set of tires, but that long green flag run in that stage, I think that helps them. I don't think now they're going to have a tire shortage. I think they used that strategy perfectly to get the track position that they needed.
We'll see if it works out for them, as now the teams will be diving onto pit road, and first will be Parker.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to pit out of the 5th place right now. He's been struggling with a couple of problems there. He has loose on entry, tight in the center, and then he gets loose off. They're going to make an adjustment in the right rear, most likely a wedge adjustment, do 4 Goodyear tires and 2 cans of Sunoco fuel in that 88 car, hopefully to get that car to do a lot less through the corners, Kelly.
Dillon was struggling with some right rear grip. He asked for the team to take some wedge out and lower the track bar. He's got 4 sticker Goodyears, which leaves him with 1 set left, Marty.
An impressive finish there for Brad Keselowski. Already left his pit stall. He said, we drove the same in stage 2. I know the 18 gained rear grip. We did not. So they made changes of tape, wedge, and air pressure, trying to get a little more rear grip for that 22 car. As you see, Rick, Kyle Busch and that 18 team use that first pit stall to their advantage. They get the lead on pit road.
They take the top spot. Daniel Henrik also gaining a position. And let's see if we can dial up the winner of stage 2, Brad Keselowski, on the radio.
Hey, Keselowski, it's Burton. You got us?
Yes, sir. What's up, Jeff?
Well, that was a lot of fun watching you and Kyle Busch race. Tell us about it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of speed on the short run, a lot of turn. And at the end, I don't know if it's his car or him, but the rear tire's falling off and seem to be able to keep up with him on the long run. So it's really about long run, short run here. If we get a long run to end the race, I think we can take him. If we get a short run, I'm going to need a little help.
So we were debating up here in the booth whether you were taking it easy on tires taking off or it was just all set up. Can you tell us, or just between us?
Well, that's a good question. I bet if I said it was me, the crew chief would say it was him. So it's a team sport. It's probably both of us.
All right, buddy. It's fun watching you guys race. Good luck.
Thanks, man. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys saw what I saw on TV, because it was great.
Very impressive. Well, Sunday night is football night. Eli Manning and the Giants visit Dak Prescott and the Cowboys in the season premiere of Sunday Night Football. Mike Tirico, Dan Patrick. They host Football Night in America at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC. And let's listen into the 18 radio as to what took place there.
It just gets too tight at the end. All we're making changes to is to try to keep the turn in it, keep the longevity in it. I do feel like I'm sliding the right rear for the entire first half of the run, but obviously that's what's keeping it turning. So just got to keep the tight out of it at the end.
How do you keep the tight out of it at the end there, Steve?
Well, I mean, that is the tendency of Richmond. As the entry goes away and it gets a little bit loose in, you end up using more brakes, which builds up the front tires, which takes away the front turn. So, you know, you can make some adjustments. It sounds like they have a good car on the short run. There are some air pressure things that you can do to help it hold on that will take away a little speed on the short run. Some of it could perhaps be even the driver, right, Jeff? I mean, if you know it goes the tight direction, try to not abuse that right front tire. The problem for Kyle Busch in the 18 is those first 2 stages were 75 laps. This stage is 100 laps. So he was already getting beat on the longer run, and this stage is an even longer run.
I think we need to applaud the day of Daniel Henrik and the 21 after missing the commitment line and coming in just a little bit late. That penalty stuck him all the way to the back.
Yeah, it was a huge penalty, and I thought that it was going to really hurt him. I thought that this mistake, because he had to start behind everybody else that pitted and did the same thing, but he put tires on with a group of people, had to start in the very back, that 38, 36 spot rather. Drove up to 4th at the end of stage 1.
Then after the driver did his work, he comes down pit road for service, and the team did their work. Pit crew got him first off pit road, got him the lead.
Able to hang on to that until Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski got by him. But now, once again, Henrik will be up on the front row. It'll be Kyle Busch and Daniel Henrik starting 1 and 2.
Anyway, we keep talking about young drivers racing around Cup guys, champions, by the way, in the Cup Series. And how do you learn? And I think that's if you want to learn. If you say, you know what, I'm better than those guys, and you just take it like that rather than saying, I know that I have some ground to make, I think the approach is what matters. I think that Daniel Henrik is smart enough to know that he's not where Kyle Busch is. He's not where Keselowski is. He's not supposed to be. But how do I use this as this experience? How do I leave this race a better race car driver?
Playoff standings as they run. Again, Byron, Allgaier, Reed, and Clements all with wins already. And playoff points. And Brendan Gaughan, 27 points ahead of Dakota Armstrong now at the cutoff line. Marty.
And you guys, you were talking about Daniel Henrik there, and it's funny because that's exactly what Danny Stockman said, Jeff Burton, his crew chief. He said, hey, when those 22 and the 18 went by him earlier in that last run, he said, hey, go to school. It's like a master's class out there right now. You can learn from two of the best in the business, and he certainly was learning when he was behind Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. That's a great time for a young driver to learn.
But to learn when they go flying by you 15 mile an hour faster than you can't learn anything. There's absolutely nothing you can learn. So Danny Stockman and Daniel Henrik have done a nice job this year of building speed in their car so he can get close to these guys, so he can be within range. And now with similar speed, you can learn something. You can't learn something if they're just blowing by you. Now he truly is learning.
Well, class is going to be in on this restart because you have perhaps one of the best ever restarters in Kyle Busch starting to the inside. Brad Keselowski starting in the row behind you. As we take a peek at our onboard cameras, you see all those drivers warming the tires up, getting prepped. You hear right there Justin Allgaier clean those rear tires off by spinning them just a little bit, clear all that loose rubber off. So Daniel Henrik, be ready. Surrounded by experienced Cup drivers.
Again, it's Henrik and Busch, Keselowski and Dillon in 2. Field approaching the Geico Restart zone. One thing he's learning is how to restart. Two of the best right there went by him. Kyle Busch with a great restart, and Brad Keselowski took it away. Now Elliott Sadler goes by.
And look who shows up, Elliott Sadler. Jeff, I don't know the numbers and I don't know the stats, but I do know it seems like in the last 25% of every single race, the one car appears. He can run mid-top 10, mid-top 15. But Kevin Meendering and Elliott Sadler do a wonderful job of improving their car over the course of the race. He always seems to finish better than his average running position.
Paul Menard in 2, going by the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Allgaier able to battle back, but you hear him having a little bit of a hard time getting back into the throttle.
And we were discussing trying to save tires early in a run. Well, how do you do that? When you're in the middle of this, how do you save tires and not give up spots? You have to go. You have to push.
William Byron in the 9 on the inside of Paul Menard. Rookie stripe on the back bumper of that number 9. And there'll be a rookie stripe on the back bumper of the Cup car that he'll be driving next year.
That is some close racing right there. Custer attempted to go 3 wide into turn 3. Christopher Bell did a nice job of leaving him just enough room to not get himself wrecked, but not enough room to get himself passed.
Great shot off the back bumper of Christopher Bell. Looking back at that number 2 of Paul Menard.
Paul Menard doing a nice job of squeezing in front of Cole Custer. You could see Cole Custer didn't want to give him that spot. He kept turning left, showing him that he had the spot, but Paul Menard, the veteran, knew that he wasn't there.
And smoke rolling out from behind the 52 of Joey Gase. He makes it onto pit road. Henrik right on the back bumper of Ty Dillon now. Henrik, after starting up on the front row, has fallen all the way back to 5th. Talked about the boss and his drivers. Well, right now we're riding along with Justin Allgaier as he about puts the bumper to the back of his boss, Dale Earnhardt Jr., just in front of him.
So we talked about those composite bodies and how this is the first race with these new composite bodies, but if we didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. Exactly. That's what's so cool about it, is they made a mold off the current cars, the cars that have been racing, and you can't tell them. They look like Camaros or they Mustangs. You cannot tell the difference.
Let's listen in to Brad Keselowski's radio.
And right now we have 2 sets of stickers in the box, so if we divide it up evenly, we can go 30 laps on each set we got here. Obviously, it took about 15 laps for guys to come back to the front, but that was against 50 lap tires, so we'll have to keep that all in mind as a cautious fall here.
And remember, not every team has 2 sets left. There are some that only have 1 set left, so that could be a factor later this evening. And one interesting note as we watch battles on both sides of the screen, Keselowski much closer to the 18 earlier in the run. He had to make up a big gap in that last stage, so right now he's pretty close to that 18 car. And he also told the team, listen, the 18 got better in stage 2. We did not. So they made some fairly significant changes to that 18, or the 22, trying to catch that 18.
Well, he's going to have some help there. Bobby Earnhardt pulled in front of the 18 of Kyle Busch, and that closed the gap now between the 18 and the 22.
You can understand the frustration from Kyle Busch on that.
Elliott Sadler holding on to the 3rd spot, Parker.
Well, we've got a battle for the lead here, Rick. I'm going to let you take over there as you see side by side between the leaders.
Keselowski goes to the outside. He's going to try to take it away, and Kyle Busch looks like he's not going to fight for it. Keselowski out front now at Richmond.
And that's a little different look. That only took 12 laps from when these tires were brand new, although Kyle Busch wants to get back inside of Brad Keselowski.
So he'll take the spot back on the inside. And Brad Keselowski drops back to 2nd. A great battle building between these two, and there's still 77 laps to go as Keselowski goes to the inside. We mentioned and we talked with Brad Keselowski after that stage win. He said, I hope you guys saw the racing that I was able to see while I was behind the wheel of this car.
Jeff, as a race car driver, is it possible that Kyle Busch is just driving a little bit out of his mirror, not running his car as hard as it needs to, just enough to stay in front of Brad Keselowski, trying to save some tire life?
You're thinking exactly what I was thinking. We've seen all night long the 22 run the 18 down. The 18 only needs to lead by a car length. You don't have to lead by 10 car lengths. So maybe Kyle Busch has said, you know what, I'm going to back my pace up a little bit, try to save a little bit of tire, just barely stay in front of Keselowski.
Other thing about these two, this is the last Xfinity Series race that they will run in 2017. So bragging rights for the rest of the year. This spotter coverage brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Spotters helping these drivers work their way around this short track.
Well, Rick, the fans at home got to see it in nonstop. Jeff, you talked about it. It seemed like Kyle Busch kind of was taken back that the 22 got by him. He instantly got back in front of the 22 of Brad Keselowski, and he's held him 1, 2, 3 car lengths back. It seems to be going just as hard as he needs to and wants to go at this point in the race.
Back there in the 9th spot is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Rut.
Yeah, Rick, I had a chance to catch up with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his driver, Elliott Sadler, before the race. And I tell you what, Jr. was all smiles. You could tell he was really excited to go race tonight, to go race against Elliott. He was giving Elliott a hard time because he actually out-qualified Elliott. And then he told us about getting to meet Danny McBride, the actor who plays Kenny Powers from Eastbound and Down, and talked about how much fun that was a few weeks ago. You really get the sense that he is enjoying every time he comes to a racetrack on this last year of his racing full-time, guys. Parker.
Well, Run, another driver that's enjoying his time here at Richmond Raceway will be the 19 of Matt Kemp, spending most of his time outside the top 10 and working his way forward. He finished 14th here in the spring and did not feel good about this racetrack. So in practice, his team made him go out there and follow some cars. Who did he follow? The 18 of Kyle Busch, the 22 of Brad Keselowski, and he felt like he learned a ton after doing that. Right now, finding a little bit of a tight condition in that 19 car, Marty.
Parker, we told you top of the show about Blake Cook coming in above the cut line in the playoffs, and Chris Rice, his crew chief, told me, he said, listen, we have top 8 speed tonight. We likely won't finish there. I'm going to call a very conservative race. I'm not going to push Blake, and I'm going to encourage him all night long on the radio because we're focused on one thing that's making it into the playoffs. That strategy, even though they're running in 13th, has worked, Kelly. They have gained 5 points tonight. Right now they're in 10th, now 49 above that cut line with a few cars between them above that cut line as well.
Well, you're looking at the 4 of Ross Chastain. He's 15th on the playoff grid, but he told me before the race they know their chances of getting in really aren't there, so they're more focused on a 13th place finish at the end of the season. But really, his thoughts right now are down in Florida. He's from Alva, Florida, where his family has a watermelon farm that's just outside of Fort Myers. They're in a mandatory evacuation zone. Right now, the family is basically hunkered down. He said they're on the highest ground in the area. But obviously his thoughts with his family and friends and the many people that he knows down there in South Florida as Hurricane Irma is approaching.
Yeah, everyone's thoughts on Florida and those that are going to be affected by Hurricane Irma as we watch Ross Chastain continue to work his way around the track. Again, out front, Kyle Busch is leading. Want to take a look at tonight's Toyota driver update. Kyle Busch looking for win number 92 in the Xfinity Series, and he's well on his way. Just 60 laps to go as we go NASCAR nonstop. still one race remaining for the Xfinity Series before the playoffs, but tomorrow night it is the final race before the playoffs get underway. The 16 drivers will be decided. That's at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. And in the playoff standings for the Cup Series, Truex Jr. comfortably up front. He's already won the regular season. He'll get 15 bonus points from that. But the real fight is back there between Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray. If a first-time winner jumps in, there's only 3 points that separate those three to be determined who would be the one knocked out of the chase, or the playoffs, excuse me.
Well, we've just seen how important tires are, so there's some opportunity. Imagine a late race restart, something happening, guys, 8th, 9th, 10th or so, they pit and drive to the front and get a win. So who knows what can happen. But we just saw Paul Menard pass the 18 of Kyle Busch. Paul Menard was running in about 10th spot, had to pit on the green with a vibration. So he just unlapped himself. He's now 1 lap back from Kyle Busch.
Kelly.
Yeah, Jeff, you have it right there. Paul Menard, who had been running in the top 10, actually thought something had broken on the 2 car. The team said, hey, look, if it gets any worse, come in. We don't want you getting hurt. It did, so he came in. Turned out he had a right rear that was flat, so they changed all 4 tires. That seems to have cured the ails of the 2, Marty.
Kelly spent some time with William Byron earlier today, and he said, you know, it's funny, this year short tracks have really been sort of our downfall. We've struggled at short tracks, and I've run short tracks my entire life, so he said, I just can't figure out what we've done. But tonight they've had a very solid run in the top 10 right now, and for the last 10 laps or so, he's been in one of those top 5 fastest cars out on the racetrack right now. What will he do tomorrow, Parker? He'll hang out for the Cup race. He's going to do that as much as he can for the rest of the year, just getting used to that Cup team, getting used to the move up to Cup next year.
And Marty, he'll be watching that guy that runs right behind him, his current boss, Earnhardt Jr., who's having one of his worst runs of this race, still fighting in tight condition and lacking drive off. But one thing he's been struggling throughout this race has been his brake bias lever. He felt like, compared to his Cup car, it's not working. It's not doing what he wants to do inside that race car. And Steve, I wonder, you've worked with him before. Is he a guy that really likes to use that brake bias over a long run to make that car do what he wants? Because he seems to really be struggling this run as he talks about that brake lever.
Well, I think much like all of these drivers, he's become accustomed to those tools. And if another driver has more adjustment than you do, it's going to be at a disadvantage. So I'm not sure exactly what they run, but if it's not as big of adjustment as he has in the Cup car, then he's expecting a certain adjustment, Rick, obviously not getting that feedback out of his Xfinity car.
Just 46 laps to go. Out front, Kyle Busch has a 1-second lead between he and Brad Keselowski. We're going to go NASCAR nonstop. You won't miss a thing. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road.
Don't look now, Rick. 51 green flag laps on this set of tires, and Brad Keselowski in this 22 car has taken about a 1.5 lead, or behind about a 1.5 of Kyle Busch, and he's taken that lead all the way down to 1 second. So he's closing the gap a little bit on Kyle Busch with 38 to go. I feel that Brad Keselowski has a chance to get to the rear bumper of the 18.
Brad Keselowski trying a few different lines around the racetrack. I want to listen in on spotter communication from the one of Elliott Sadler talking about just that.
Try something new, exit at 2, man. Try to get a point. I know you're working hard in there. Stay after. 80% mark at 2, Kevin's where we're bad. Everywhere else we're pretty decent. Just points really late. Can't be aggressive with the gas.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
Jeff, you and I were just having a conversation. Traffic, and more traffic. Welcome to Short Track Racing. We saw last week Denny Hamlin in the Cup race put an amazing run on those last 50 laps working through traffic. Well, Kyle Busch is trying to do the same thing tonight. While he has a very good race car, you see all the cars around him. It's all about how he picks and chooses his lines through there. The same for Brad Keselowski, who's trying to chase him down.
Well, he's done a much better job than Keselowski's been able to do. He's actually lengthened that lead while passing those lap cars. So Kyle Busch, you can see right there, see the difference. He's done a really good job of getting through the lap traffic.
Bobby Earnhardt almost got into him as he was coming out of the turn. There's been some great battles between the 18 and 22. Take a look at what Kyle Busch has been able to do and how he has worked through this traffic.
Just making it 3 wide, being very aggressive, and that tells me that he's concerned about Keselowski. If he wasn't pushing this hard through lap traffic, I would feel like, you know, he had something left in the tank. But by being that aggressive and exposing himself to a little bit of danger, that tells me he's trying to get away from Keselowski. He's afraid that Keselowski's coming. So certainly very aggressive through lap traffic.
Well, now we're going to see they both have clear track. We can really watch these lap times, Rick. The next 3 or 4 laps, I think, will paint the picture as we look out the front of Brad Keselowski. That Ford Performance onboard camera, it's so good to watch short track racing. So look at the 18. He goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Brad Keselowski a little bit higher, about a half a lane off the bottom. That corner looked pretty good to me right there, Jeff. It seemed like Brad Keselowski made up some lap time, about a 1/10 of a second on timing and scoring.
Yeah, they did look really good. You could actually see him close that gap in 3 and 4. And I think that's where the advantage has been all night. Really 1 and 2, they seem like they're fairly equal, but it just seems like right here when the 22 gets in the corner, from there to the middle of the corner, he's able to roll a little more speed and still get the car to turn.
32 laps to go. That's a long time around Richmond. If a caution comes out, without a doubt, everybody will be on pit road for new tires. And I think that would be advantage Kyle Busch. He has been better on new tires. But what did Brad say when you talked to him after stage 2? It's just going to come down to short run versus long run. Well, here it is. Currently in the very long run, 58 laps, but still with 31 to go. If they run that long, that will be, without a doubt, the longest green flag run of the night.
Kelly.
Well, Rick, more problems for Paul Menard, who's got a vibration once again, and the team just not taking any chances, so they brought him back down pit road to give him 4 fresh Goodyear tires, and they said they're going to check the guns to see what's up. Obviously, they think they've been sending him out potentially with a loose wheel, so they're checking the guns now. They've completed that service and sending him back out.
Well, you saw the rear tire changer take the tire off, then reach in there with another tool. It looked to me that he was making sure the wheel spacers, so basically what sets the tread width or the width of the car, there are spacers that bolt to the hub. If you have a loose wheel, those could come loose, and then the wheel will never tighten correctly. So it looked like a little maintenance or at least preventative checking to make sure that wasn't the cause of the problem.
Gap still around 0.8 of a second between Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. Those two fighting 1 and 2. Then back here a little bit further, Christopher Bell in the 20 chasing down the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Allgaier running 6th. Christopher Bell in 7th. Marty.
Well, Rick, we talked to Dakota Armstrong in Countdown to Green. He hit the wall in the first lap of practice today. He's had his work cut out for him, but one goal is accomplished. He's ahead of Brendan Gaughan, but only by one spot. That certainly doesn't get him the points that he needed to gain this weekend, and you see right there, he's currently 25 points out, so he will have to go to Kentucky and try and get out, to Chicago next week and try and get 25 points. If it ends like it is right now, that's going to be a tall task for this race team, but certainly a good effort tonight. He's made his way forward, started 31st right now in the 19th position, or in the 18th position, but just not enough points gained tonight on Brendan Gaughan to cut into that lead like he would like.
Gaughan actually.
Hey, meanwhile, there's Brendan Gaughan. They're basically accomplishing everything that they set out to do, which was to gain more points over the cut line. In fact, you see the positions they're in now with help of that great third-place stage finish, which gave them 8 more points. They have actually jumped Michael Annett. And funny, when I was talking to Shane Wilson, the crew chief, earlier today, he said, look, obviously our objective is just to get into the playoffs, but I'd rather not slither in 12th. I'd feel much better about it going in 10th or 11th. Right now, they're 11th in the playoff points.
Strategy didn't work out. Brendan Gaughan currently scored 2 laps down. Half a second separates Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski. Only 24 laps to go as we go NASCAR nonstop. Great battle for the lead, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this race on NASCAR America coming up this week on weekdays at 5 o'clock. It's the first NASCAR show every day, weekly, as a great battle continuing to build here. Kyle Busch just in front of Brad Keselowski, and now the gap, nothing.
We've seen it all night. The 22 of Brad Keselowski has been better into the run on old tires. Well, now he's done it. He's run the 18 down. He's inside him 3 wide for the lead at Richmond.
Kyle Busch, he's committed to the outside now, and Keselowski is going to get by him, but all of this traffic, will that allow Kyle to challenge him back again? Kyle way up high as Brad Keselowski splits the 19 in the 00.
Got to be frustrated because it seemed like lap traffic was the cause, but the real cause is the 18 struggling on older tires that allowed Brad Keselowski to catch him. He caught him from about a second and a half back, and you see right there just how much better the 22 turns in the middle of the corner and drives off straighter.
It almost looked like Kyle Busch felt like he needed to get to the 19 of Matt Tifft and a 00 to try to get by both of them. If he felt like he could have gotten by them, maybe with 15 laps to go, he could have held Keselowski off. He drove into turn one, it just overdrove the corner, and Keselowski easily drove by him.
Brad out in front now has a 0.6 of a second lead over Kyle Busch. Let's listen into the radio for the 18.
Brakes are still better than the first run looks-wise now. That seemed to help him. If we need to go back the other direction, just a fuzz. Yeah, we still don't have a long-run car here. Beautiful. Just keep managing it there. He had to work his stuff hard there, racing you in with the lappers. So.
And that was Kyle admitting he feels like they just don't have the long-run car to keep up with the 22. The brake reference was to the fact that they feel like the 22's brakes look a little bit better than the 18, but obviously Brad Keselowski's gotten down in front of Kyle Busch right now, and it's funny, they've made the 18 car better. It's longer in the run every time, and he says the car just starts to get way too tight, and that's when he loses the handle. But it's been fun to watch these two guys all night long. And Jeff, I kind of think it's funny, it's the final Xfinity Series race for both of these drivers, so it seemed like they put not a little more effort into it tonight, but they've certainly made a very good show here this evening at Richmond, battling for the lead all evening long.
Well, we've talked about glowing brakes, but all the glowing brakes that we've talked about has been in the front and the front only. But the 18 of Kyle Busch, he's not glowing just the front brakes. He's glowing the front and the rear brakes. That is impressive. See right here on the 18, left rear rotor glowing on corner entry. That is some rear brake to help that car turn the middle.
Yeah, and I think that's a reaction to trying to make the front tires work, put more rear brake into the car, try to make the car turn, take heat out of the front by applying it to the rear. Tons of rear brake in that 18 car.
And remember, Rick, that 22 of Brad Keselowski that's leading, he is an interim crew chief. Brian Wilson's on top of the pit box for that 22 this weekend. So, hey, listen, if you're going to come in and do the fill-in, this is the type of fill-in work you're looking for.
And guys, look who he just lapped there. The 48 of Brennan Poole is actually in 10th place. He restarted after the last caution in 16th and is driven his way back into the top 10. And if you remember all the way back to the start of this race, he started on the front row. Fell back, fought a lot of tight in that race car. Couldn't get it to do anything he wanted, but has fought back. And that is why that 48 believes, as they go into the playoffs at Chicagoland, that they are one of the cars to beat and definitely a contender for this championship going forward.
You mentioned Brennan Poole goes a lap down. Now there are only 9 cars on the lead lap, and running 9th, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get frustrated if you're Brennan Poole that you got lapped. I get it. No one wants to get lapped, but also remember you're running 10th. Remain focused. You're trying to get better, trying to improve, trying to move this team into the playoffs like Parker just reported. You got to kind of forget that you got lapped and pay attention to where you're running.
Brad Keselowski starting to pull away now from even Kyle Busch. He has a 2.5 seconds over Kyle Busch. Ty Dillon running 3rd. Daniel Henrik is 4th. And Elliott Sadler running in the top 5 once again.
I think the big concern right now for Keselowski is the right front brake heat. Not necessary for his car, but for other cars. The thing he doesn't want to see is a caution. He doesn't want another car to have problems. Cars have not been this far all night long. There's more heat in the tires, more heat in the wheels. Wouldn't be a major surprise to see someone melt a bead this on such a long run.
Just 6 laps to go for Brad Keselowski as he's looking for his 36th win in the Xfinity Series. Sideways for Justin Allgaier as he came off the turn. William Byron in the 9, trying to get by Allgaier. Still fighting on the lead lap. Allgaier running 7th. Byron is 8th. Byron trying to take that 7th spot away. And William Byron will clear Justin Allgaier. And right back to the side is Allgaier. And he gets right down to his door.
You heard that throttle? You heard him have to get out of the throttle in the exit of turn 4. That's just no rear grip left anymore, trying to accelerate, trying to keep the 9-car William Byron underneath him, and he just had to lift off the gas coming off the corner. See how loose he is on the exit of turn 2.
It's been the long run car of Brad Keselowski that has been the most impressive tonight. Under 3 laps to go now, as Keselowski has a 2.5-second lead over Kyle Busch. Ty Dillon running 3rd. Daniel Henrik is 4th. Elliott Sadler, Christopher Bell, William Byron, Justin Allgaier, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. The only cars on the lead lap, but Earnhardt Jr. could even get lapped here if he doesn't watch out. Just under 2 laps to go. They're coming up on the white flag. One more time around for Brad Keselowski, as he will see the white flag.
White flag.
2.5-second lead over second place, Kyle Busch. It has been a perfect setup for Brad Keselowski. Didn't have the short run, but it didn't matter. When you have the longest run of the night come at the last lap, Brad Keselowski will win at Richmond. Kyle Busch sideways across the start-finish line, finishing 2nd.
Really, really nice work there, Brad. That was awesome to watch. You can go ahead and burn that one down, buddy.
All right, if I do. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everybody.
89 green flag laps to end this race. And we heard Brad talk about he thought his car was set up better for the long run, and he felt like he would have an advantage if it came down to a long run at the end of this race, and that's exactly what it was. A tradition Brad Keselowski has when he wins a race. The American flag rides along with him.
Talented right there. Getting the car to drift down the front straightaway.
All right, I'm impressed.
That's pretty good.
And will he make it all the way to the start-finish line?
How in the world has the tires not blown out of it?
Well, of course he will.
That was impressive.
You heard him. That was impressive. Impressing even his own race team in that burnout.
Down here with Kyle Busch in 2nd place. You see Brad Keselowski still doing his burnout down there. Right here.
He's not done.
Oh, brothers has earplugs.
Well, he had a smile on his face, so that's a good thing.
And rubber in his teeth.
Rod, get him out of that car.
Rick, I don't even know what you say after an amazing burnout like that. I mean, he's bringing the interview right to our doorstep here. That's impressive. Wow. I mean, let's be honest. If you can catch the attention of Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton up there with a massive burnout like that, I think you're doing something right. How about a little noise for Brad Keselowski, huh? To have that much tire left after battling with Kyle Busch, that sure says a lot about what this guy was saving out there. Brad, look at you, man. After a huge battle and an amazing burnout on the front stretch, tell us about that battle with Kyle Busch.
Gosh, he's a great racer, and when you can race with him, you're having a good day, especially in this series. So, the Fitzgerald lighter parts Ford Mustang had a lot of speed on the long runs. Not exactly where we wanted to be on the short runs, but still good enough to be right there, right? And that's what we did. We kind of hung with them and got those long runs, and right at the end, I was able to pounce, and that's the testament to the team. Burton was asking me if it was the setup or the driver. I don't know. I guess maybe it's a little bit of both, but happy to get another win in this series. That's a lot of fun, and the first one in one of these new bodies. At least it's not an aero advantage, but it's overall a great night here at Richmond. I'm really proud of my whole team.
It's Fan Appreciation Weekend here at Richmond. These fans have been so important to you in your career. What do you want to say to them tonight?
Well, we're just glad to be. There's a lot of other places we could be in the world and a lot of other stuff going on, and I'm glad I get to be here and glad they're here with us, and appreciate everybody's support. So thank you, everybody.
Congratulations. We'll see you in Victory Lane.
Thank you very much.
The pass came late, and it was crowded. But once he was able to get by, he checked out. Brad Keselowski winning, and then showing one of the most impressive burnouts we've seen in a real long time. Maybe the only thing that was equally impressive was the flyby that he did right there. Next Saturday, it's the last race before the playoffs. Xfinity Series racing from Chicagoland Speedway. That's Saturday, September 16th on NBCSN. Brad Keselowski has not stopped celebrating, and the right rear tire is flat now. Let's hear from guy who finished second, Kyle Busch. He's with Parker.
Kyle Busch ends up second here at Richmond. What'd you lack to Brad there on the long run to maybe go up there and be able to beat him?
Just center turn, right rear grip, all of it. He just had better long run car every time, every run we had. He was able to get by us there after about 45, 50 laps, whatever it was. So I was trying to get out there a little bit, and we're working each other pretty hard there earlier in the run. I thought I'd beat his tires up, and he was just able to come back through. So, oh well. Mouse Energy Drink Camry was good, just not good enough, and needed a little bit more.
So using that high lane, was there anything up there that you were able to use? Anything you learned for the Cup race tomorrow night?
No, it was just desperation. Nothing there. It's too slow, too far around. So right front was way too beat up. Maybe if I would have done that a lot sooner in the run, I might not have wore a right front out because I could have been easier on the steering wheel. But all in all, just it's what it is.
Before you go, that was a hell of a drift across the start-finish line. I know you had smoke coming off the right rear.
I had nothing else better to do.
10-4. Congratulations.
Drifting while he finished second to Brad Keselowski, who has made his way into victory lane. And let's go now to Marty.
And Rick, if you're going to wrap up your Xfinity Series season, you might as well win the last race of the year. Brad Keselowski has done that here at Richmond. Now he gets to celebrate with his crew. And I don't know if it's good or bad, but they have shaken a lot of Miller Lite behind him. I believe this is going to be a very nice celebration for Brad Keselowski when he gets out. Wants a cold drink of water, but first, he's going to celebrate with the crew like this. And Brad returns the favor with a little Miller Lite sprayed on them. Big handshake for everybody. And so were you thinking there, you know what? The 18s made themselves a little bit better. I might not be able to catch him on this long run.
Yeah, he definitely worked it really well and did a great job, and so did his team. But we just had a lot of speed on those long runs. You know, it's something we worked on and we're kind of hoping for. You know, I think we know that we're probably all a little bit behind the Toyotas, but, you know, if we can work real hard and try to be smart and be smooth, you can win races like this. So it's nice to be able to do that here tonight. And like I was telling Rod, I mean, when you race Kyle, you know, you're racing one of the best. He and I might not always get along, but that doesn't mean I don't have respect for his talent. So that was really fun.
I want to dissect the burnout. How in the world did you do the sideways, I'm not going to touch the wall burnout and still keep tires on the thing? And then the pirouette around Rutledge, by the way. That was impressive.
I don't know. It just it came to me. I don't know. It was fun, though. I hope it looked cool on TV because it was really cool from my view.
It was very cool on TV. So, and Miss Scarlett's coming over here as well. So the family's here for...
Sprayed by beer, so
she doesn't... We don't want Scarlett to get... We don't want to get her sprayed by beer, right?
Yes. No, that'd be a bad deal. But she's back there. She's still up. It's past her bedtime, so we're going to have a little bit of fun before bedtime. And just glad everybody was here, and what a great race.
It's good for the family to celebrate. It was a fun race, but the burnout, I think that might have been the most impressive thing, Rick.
Absolutely. That was the 7th time that Brad Keselowski has passed Kyle Busch for the win. As we look at the playoff standings, now 1 race to go before the playoffs start. And again, only 12 will make it. 25 points separate Brendan Gaughan, Dakota Armstrong for that final spot in the playoffs.
Well, it started the night at 20. Brendan was able to gain 5 more points on Dakota, most of that coming with that strategy call and the points awarded at the end of the stage. They ended up basically both running. Armstrong finished 18th, Gaughan 21st, so it was kind of a wash on the race, just the points awarded there in the stage finish.
And the top of the list as far as the drivers that haven't won yet, Elliott Sadler is going to win the points. Let's go to Parker.
Elliott Sadler gets a 5th place finish here at Richmond. But more important than that, you're the regular season champ. How's it feel?
Man, I'm so proud of my guys, everybody at Junior Motorsports. We've had a really good, strong program this year, and the last month or so we really run really good, especially on the oval. So to come here to Richmond, get a top 5, secure a regular season championship, 15 bonus points is a lot for this one main financial team. And, man, we're ready to go. We're getting ourselves in playoff form, and we got so many great partners with us. A lot of people from Hunt Brothers are here tonight, as well as Arma Foods and a lot of folks from One Main Financial. So we got great supporters, this group, and we're fired up, ready to go. To come into Richmond, and we always want to win at your home track, but to be in the top 5 and run as good as we are, Parker, we're very happy with that.
And winning this regular season championship has been a testament to the consistency of this race team, although you have not been able to get in victory lane. We're approaching a year winless. Is that going to be important to get in victory lane to be able to fight for this championship in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to win some races in the playoffs, and we know that. But we have had some cars able to win a couple races this year. We just brakes hadn't gone our way, cautions hadn't gone our way. You know, I've made some mistakes like at Darlington last week, trying to get myself in position. But the cars have been fast, and like you said, they've been very consistent. Pit stops have been great. Great engines from HMS. So we've got the total package. Just the drivers got to put it together for an entire weekend.
Congratulations.
All right, thanks, Parker.
It was a 3rd place finish for Ty Dillon. Ty, it was a great strategy call to help get you some track position. You held on, but what were you lacking? Where did the 18 and 22 have you beat?
I think we just started the race just a little too off. Our last adjustment was really good. We had pretty good speed compared to them throughout the middle of that run. And then kind of got caught in traffic there. But proud of Squid, proud of my guys in the Ream Chevy. We didn't qualify very good, and he put us in a good spot to get track position. Knew if we had track position, we always race good here. So we're just probably 1 pit stop behind on our adjustments to really go up there and compete with those guys.
Still 3rd place finish, your best of this season. Do you feel like maybe even as a whole, RCR's closing the gap there a little bit?
Yeah, we're getting better for sure. I think these new bodies are definitely helping. I think everybody's comes back down to earth a little bit. So I'm proud of the guys and proud of the effort to get these cars made from RCR. So yeah, we're slowly getting better. We had a good run last week at Darlington, and coming here to run 3rd is good.
And we mentioned it was an incredible burnout by Brad Keselowski after getting his 36th Xfinity Series win. On the other side of the break, Krista, Kyle, and DJ will join us.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.